I left my camera in position on the dunes last night. This might seem like a strange technique, but it's allowed me to take quite a few photos over the past 6 years. It's nearly impossible to set up a view camera in the dark, so my technique is to leave the camera overnight and hope for a nice sunrise. Had there been a glorious sunrise like yesterday, with the sky filled with wispy pink clouds, I certainly would have been prepared. But that didn't happen this morning. Instead, I checked the sky a couple hours before sunrise and didn't see a trace of clouds, so I slept in. I have a tough time sitting still, and the thought of hanging around camp for several hours was far from ideal. I want to be out looking for compositions, exploring my surroundings, and looking for my next shot. Thankfully, my pack was light, containing only my film, a couple extra lenses, and some other bits of gear. In the daily grind as a landscape photographer, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. Any day I venture out into the field with my camera could be the day that I capture the defining photo, not only for the trip, but perhaps my entire year. I treat every photo as though it'll be that image, hanging proudly on my wall. Most of the time, it falls far short, but there are those times when all the key elements align and I'm fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time. I spent the afternoon scouting the dune crest in increasingly windy conditions. The sort of peace you feel at the top of a sand dune is difficult to describe, and something I would hope for more people to experience. I found a composition that seemed promising, then waited several hours for the sun to drop low on the horizon. I hoped to make my exposure just before sunset to take advantage of the rich color contrast between blue and orange. As evening drew closer, I realized that the angle of sun wasn't quite what I had hoped. Rather than the foreground ridge being split between light and shadow, the scene was very busy, with no real sense of rhythm.
I'm not really digging this. I think it's gonna be a little too chaotic, but I don't know. We'll see.
Despite my mixed feelings on the composition, I was there, the light was good, so I made 2 exposures to fulfill my New Year's resolution of shooting more and leaving the decision-making process for when I get home. I packed up my gear and enjoyed my time atop the dune as day turned to night and a calm, cool breeze swept over the land. I knew full well that this wasn't the day I would capture a defining photo, but I didn't care about that. I was out in nature, surrounded by the stark beauty of Death Valley, and I was fortunate enough to photograph a wonderful sunset yesterday with a composition I really liked. Staying at this location any longer would be asking too much. I knew it was time to move along and find subjects elsewhere in the park. A storm was on the way. I wanted to find a location where I can make the most of it. If you love this content and want to help support my journey, you can do so by subscribing to my YouTube channel, telling a friend, or sending a contribution of just $24 a year via PayPal. I depend on the generous support of people like you to produce this ad-free content. Thanks in advance for your support.